All right, as we continue to finalize the top section here, I did a few adjustments. I went back and just the lights that we already had set up, I went back in and just adjusted values. I also, while I was in there, decided to work on these other sections separate from the lighting we have on the body here. So I just had a dedicated light for this section. I also had a few dedicated lights to give this part here a little bit more shape, a little bit more roundness to it from what we were getting out of the lighting we did for the body. And I fixed that weird light that was happening with these parts. It turned out to be just some light linking I had not set up correctly. And so then I can show you where I have now is this is where I'm at. Again, using the same tactics we've been going over, just readjusting, realigning things, getting it a little bit more shape to sections. Like here, I wanted to show off a little bit of this shape here, make sure we have a nice highlight in the middle, sorry, to give us that feeling of depth. I also went ahead and adjusted this just so you guys can see. I made sure we have a nice highlight here and then something down here just to give us this nice shape, a little bit of dark over here, and also slight little rim on top, again, to break it from the background here, and just so we can get a sense of feeling of depth. And I'm just pull back real quick. And so now at this point, I'm feeling really good with this top section. If I bring over the reference, we can sort of see that we're pretty close. At least we got certain shapes in there that we'd like, and things that we can adjust and post as well. But I think for the most part, this is a good base to start with, and we can start seeing things together in Nuke and just see what areas we might need to go back and readjust. But for the most part, I'm feeling pretty confident about it. I also want to point out I left this part in here as well. I kind of like what was happening by default, like the chrome and just the shape that this was giving. Although I do definitely want to go back and maybe maybe remove this bottom side and maybe not have everything so black, maybe just some kind of fill for those chrome sections. But again, I'm just going to keep it in for now. Just want to see how it looks as we move forward. We will go into the chrome next. So I think for now this was good, and I went ahead and just started working on the bottom section. Now I don't want to keep repeating the same things over and over, just using the same methods. I went ahead and just did quick blocking on the bottom section here. I first started out with the big stuff, which was the back lights, and then I have the slight extension just to get some more definition at the bottom. If I just switch over real quick, there you go. This is what I'm getting off for the bottom at the moment. So let me just kind of make this a little bit bigger here. And so what I focused on was getting some sort of ramp going up and down here, and also just getting these kind of highlights that were coming from the reference. These proved to be very tricky, so I already get the feeling I might go back in to readjust things, but we're getting these kind of highlights, and I try to sort of mimic something like that. I'm also noticing that here this is going slightly slanted and ours is going straight, so that is also again thinking about it's also the asset, if it's this the right one, because it could be an old model, a different design. They don't have this kind of split of geo here in the reference, so it could be completely different, but just wanted to get some of that information in there. Again, we have that highlight that matches sort of this, and as we know, we kind of just have to put a light kind of fairly far from the asset to sort of get that kind of hot highlight, and that's this light here that's sort of slanted like this, that's giving us this nice sharp edge, which we can adjust in Nuke. And that's just a simple value change, maybe just some slight color change to blend it all in, which is fine. And then we move over to here. We have this very soft right to left feeling as we get from the reference, which, you know, that was just another detail I had to put in there. And then the big one was this big light that's happening on the chrome in the center here. Now it's not as hot as I have it in the reference, but I wanted to focus on this direction, like a strong right, kind of gets slightly dimmer, and then just another light on the left. So we have these two lights that are working against each other here, and they're light linked to just this piece of geo, and that's these guys back here. Let me just show you. This is I just want to quickly show the texture. So that's just this big light that's hitting from the right to left, and then we have this center chrome panel on the left side, just sort of yeah, and that's just sort of coming into a point here where it's slightly darker, just to give us that feeling of movement going across. So that's this over here. And yeah, so that's just kind of the same methods, and I didn't want to just make another video of just me blocking this part out. That was pretty straightforward. And also I went ahead and just split the grinder into its own render layer as well. So if I just switched over to the grinder, because I felt the lighting that was coming off of our original lights was just not giving us the right things we wanted, and also it was getting a lot of the reflection from the actual asset onto the glass here, or plastic, and I didn't like that either, and I wanted a little bit more control. Let me just switch over here so we can see how it's coming out. And I wanted just more shape, and I wanted more roundness to this, and I think maybe I might want to extend this a little bit more, but what we have here is these two big lights in the back, and then I have this top light that's sort of raining down to give us this shape over here, and then also these backlights are helping, also giving us this roundness along the edges. I was not getting enough light in here, it was actually getting quite dark, so I set up another bunch of lights in here. This one I think is targeting this center piece here. I wanted to differentiate this piece from the back, so I have this light that's sort of hitting this side, and then I have another light way in there, which is like down here, and this is just actually bouncing back and giving us this effect. So again, I wanted to make sure we can definitely see all the pieces in this asset, and nothing's getting lost, and we can kind of define everything. Everything has some sort of an edge, and naturally I was also getting this interesting light on the coffee beans, which for now I'm not really focused on them, but I kind of like what's happening, and if we need to be more, we can also add more lights into it. But for now, this is a good starting point. I liked what was happening, so I'm going to keep this separate. And also when I look back at the reference, if I can pull it up, which right now it's hiding somewhere. There we go. You know, it was like I said, we were getting a lot of reflection. Also, I feel we can just kind of sneak it back there, and we don't actually have to worry about how it's connecting. This piece was not visible from our angle, so for now I'm just gonna ignore it, and I'm just gonna blend it in, and we'll see how it looks in comp. So I think for now we're gonna be okay with this being separate, and it's just gonna like cut into this part right here. Okay, so now on to the big one, which is working with our chrome. So I had already messed with it a bit, but I figured I want to show you how I got to where I got. Let me just make sure I zoom in here. All right, so my camera was just super far away. Okay, so here we are. These are the chrome pieces I wanted to work on in this layer. Again, I didn't keep the other one for now because I really like what was happening. But in order to get sort of this chrome here, I don't know how originally it was created. It could have been an HDR. specific one that was giving them this type of stuff. But you know, if I'm gonna recreate it, you know, the first thing I thought was, okay, well, we need something that's super highly reflective on all sides, and then we need to be able to control the highlights and the shadows and the dark areas, and sort of we're gonna be painting with light here. So what I did was I just created a dome, and it lives in here. Whoa. Oh, we're in the wrong layer, so let's just switch over. This is the working one. Yep, so this is going to be our working dome. So that's this guy over here. This is just a V-Ray light dome. You know, by default comes in at 1, and then I just threw in a quick ramp. So that's all I did right now. And then the best way to work here is to make sure you're in IPR. So let's just switch over here and let's get this guy running. And I'm gonna work in, I believe I was working on the top. All right. So, and also just to speed things up, I'm just gonna isolate this area here. Okay, cool. So we have that ramp in there, and that what's happening is that obviously everything is just getting hit. But now that we have this guy live, we can go into this ramp. Oh, and it might help to visually see what's happening here. So I'm just gonna switch over to 6. Oh. So sorry, the other dome that I was already working with was in here too, but I want to start fresh. So right now looks like the ramp is going from the top to the bottom, so let's just switch that. So we need this to be kind of circling around, and already you can see what's happening down here. So now what I want to do is start kind of figuring out what areas need to be white and what areas need to be dark. So let's just kind of start isolating areas so I can sort of see where I'm at in space. I'm just gonna put this dark. So there we go. So now as you can see, there's the light, how it's reflecting. You can just scooch this over. And this is sort of the starting point. This is just kind of you figuring out where you are in space. Where are we going to be starting to paint? Let's start here. And as you can see, we're also getting these reflections that are also helping us kind of give us interesting shapes throughout the chrome. Now let's, of course, we got to make sure we have our reference up and running always. So we have this center section here, and now we're gonna have to start splitting here into this dark bit. So let's start finding that section here. All right, let's find that part here. Yeah, wrong way. Oh, let me make sure I keep this reference open. Maybe what I'll do is kind of scooch this over for now. I'm kind of looking at the text over here as sort of a guide. So then now I know that's that position. I know it gets dark over here. We might drop another point here and just kind of raise. And then we'll keep this dark, and then the next one we'll kind of gray it out a bit. And so that I'm kind of indicating this part over here. And maybe I'll do this one a little bit lighter. And then that's sort of that's the process. You kind of just go and just start finding this area, that's this, and then this is dark, and then, you know, back here will be a mixture of reflections and maybe just some more custom kind of areas getting hit. As you can see, we're matching, this is the reflection, and that's sort of the reflection here of this guy. And yeah, we might just need another kind of dark line back there. So yeah, and now on this side over here, let's just kind of, I'm gonna make another kind of hot, just kind of squeeze it all the way over here. Oop. And there you go. I'll stop here and then maybe just put just a really sharp white line there. So you see that sort of, and then you're kind of then getting it for free on other areas here as you're kind of focused on one. And and then now it's just a matter of adjusting. We might want to put more lines back here, and again we're getting the reflections in. And now you're starting to get naturally a very interesting shape and design. And now, this part is really not much of rules. It's more basically what looks good. And every art director has their own take on chrome and how they want it to feel. For here, we're just kind of matching this reference and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. So at this point, I would let you guys, I would kind of keep playing with this and see what interesting shapes you get using this as your base. And then once we get something a little bit more defined, then that becomes your chrome layer, and then we will just comp in these chrome sections here. Now this part is interesting because every render that I have this piece in gave some interesting reflections in here. See, like this one's kind of very sharp and it's not really working too good. I believe in the top render was probably giving the best one that we can probably use. Again, this is all, we're just gathering enough images that we can kind of play with in comp and giving as much information as we can, providing to the comp work. All right, so that's the chrome side of things, at least for these sections here. And I already have another ramp that I was using, so if you guys saw earlier, so I'm just gonna hit pause on that, and I'm just gonna switch over to this one that I had from earlier. I'll just do, and so it's more or less the same things. I just kind of played around on my own. Just so you guys can see where I'm at. But yeah, that concludes at least the chrome bits of it, and I think that's all the sections we need. I think we're starting to get ready to send off our high-res renders and just start bringing them into Nuke. Now, before we do, I'm going to make another video after this, and this is going to be our final setups, which is going to be our mattes and our light selects that we need and our render elements we need in order to start bringing this piece all together in Nuke. And we got to make sure we have that all set up now. It's a process on its own, but it is necessary. Yeah. So I think we're good. Let's move on to the next and final bits of setting up your scene for final rendering.